Hi everybody, this is Judy Parcell again. Welcome back to my studio. I was looking at my views on my channel and there showed me a lot of interest in Zen doodles. And I decided I would do another one today and talk about some stuff that would be called like hidden elements that you may not know why the design is working for you so well. And a lot of it is like in your brain. When you're looking at a design, it's trying to make it go a certain way and flow a certain way. And that's why some elements in designs work better than others. Now, I drew a little quickie sketch. I've talked to you before about the diagonal line and that it is an action line. And now I'm going to talk to you about, that's a diagonal line, all right, but this one is kind of going like that, and that's kind of the line that's running through this pattern. Now, I never did use a string on this. I just started drawing down in the corner a simple circle, and I'm going to move this a minute. And I started with this, and then I built on top of it, and I built this and this and this, and I just kept going. And then I just look at it a while, and oh, maybe I should do this and this and this and this. And if something wasn't working out too well, I erased it. In some places, I only did part of a circle to lend interest. And down here, I did something entirely different. Up here, I did little curlicues. But it's all circular. The whole thing is really circular. And I went with keeping it circular. And I think that this flows. And when something flows, there's action, and it lends interest to a piece. Let's secure this up here. Okay. So I'm going to get started with you. I already started up here, and I thought to myself I probably should have started at the bottom where I began myself. But I didn't. So I took and I just mimicked this one line here, which is an aura, and I just mimicked it up here, and that created interest. And so I'm going to start there because that's where I started. Now there's two kinds of design. There's one called abstract, the other's representational art. And abstract means it's not really realistic, and representational art means that you can get something out of it. You can make sense out of it. It looks like something. Well, I would say this Zen doodle is a combination of both. Now, when you create a Zen doodle, I really recommend that you keep simple lines. And the simple lines can work into a complex design. So, quote unquote, keep it simple. Now this kind of looks like clouds in a sky to me. So that would be kind of the abstract part or the representational part. And there is a rhythm and a flow. So let me get started. These are really two auras here. This one I'm doing now is a second kind of curly aura over the curly cues. And you'll see that when I go to address that part. here are the curlicues. In pencil, you couldn't see them very well, but... Or I could do them this way. Well, there's no rules here with Zen Doodle. Whoop. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. See, that's nice meditative rhythm. This isn't hard to do. And here is another aura. That's going all the way around. Now, auras don't have to be evenly parallel. You'll notice I skimped in certain areas, and that lends interest. Always you want to give interest. The reason I start this out before I make my video in pencil is because I just am not real good at developing a design off the top of my head. And again, I always encourage people to start with pencil, finish out with pen and ink. And when we get into more complex drawing, which is later on, we probably won't be using the pen. We're just going to get into drawing and shading and that type of thing. But for now, let's just have a little fun. And to tell you the truth, I much prefer doing something like this than taking myself so seriously in my art. I like whimsy and cartoony much better because I don't have to stick to all the rules. It allows me to be more creative. Oops, that one goes like that. Okay. I hope you guys are making comments below or suggesting things I might do, because the last time I checked I couldn't read your minds. So it helps if you give me a little feedback. Also, if you like something, please do the thumbs up and subscribe. I don't care anything about monetization, but what that does is it tells me on my dashboard how many people are interested enough to subscribe and do my lessons. It's just a way for me to see how well I'm doing with you. Now I'm going to go into repeating that paralleling pattern that I did on the opposite side. And sometimes it's good to repeat yourself in a painting or a drawing. For example, I noticed if I paint, I have to repeat the same color in another place on the painting because it ties it in and it makes it cohesive, as we say. Here is the end of this, so I'm just going to do this. Can you see that? Probably not. What I'm doing. Okay. Let's bring this up. Here's a bunch of auras on top of auras on top of auras, and that's okay. Any rule goes. I'm saving the center part for last because it's kind of my fun part. For me, that is. You might be finding your fun part is in repetitive patterns like what I'm doing right now. Yeah, everybody's different. Up, a little bend there. Okay. Okay. Some sunlight coming through from my window, just dancing around. Just dancing, kind of like this painting is. It's dancing with a gentle breeze, pushing the leaves around on my trees out in my orchard. Oh, I have a great story to tell you. I don't know if I mentioned that I bought a game camera. And I move it around in my garden. And there's more activity in some places than others. So I move it around just to see what the wildlife is doing. The deer and the rabbits and the skunks and the squirrels and everything. And during the day, the deer come in and the bucks come in and they get in the shady green part of my lawn and they chew their cuds and look wriggle. But at night, I have infrared on my camera. They chase each other around and it's hysterical. We are in rutting season, so they are starting their mating dance, or foreplay as we'd call it. It was pretty funny. The deer are super friendly now, so I think that's started. One time I was sitting on my porch looking out across my yard, and two big bucks jumped my white fence. And I saw two other little small animals jump at the same time with them. So I went around very quietly to the other side of the house because I couldn't make out what the other two little animals were. They definitely weren't deer. When I found them, they were foxes. And right away, they started digging these holes with their noses, a little bit with their feet and with their noses, into the ground, probably looking for grubs or something else. And they would go around and they dig little holes all over the place. And they, as soon as they were done, they got up and left. Went back right over the fence again. Oh, okay. Got what they wanted. Pretty amazing what the wildlife does. I listened to some men that are trappers, hunters, and fishermen guides. One in particular, named Steve up in Canada, and he talks about animal behaviors. He talks about what you need to know if you run across a bear, which could go very wrong, and about their behaviors, how they eat. He said the more you know about the wildlife, the safer you'll be in the woods when you're walking. That makes sense to me. He said he worries about people that go into the national forests and they let their kids run up and down the trails near brush. Those are the places that bobcats, mountain lions, and everything hide, and they could snatch your child very quickly. So when you go in the woods, he said you need to be with your children. And you also need to educate your kids about the woods being the wildlife's home. He also said that you would not know if a bear was hiding in a bush next to you. They are experts at stealth. Bears, any of the wildlife, the mountain lions, anything. You would not know. And if they attack, it comes out of the blue. And they don't warn you, they just attack you. So these are some interesting things that I am learning, because I live in the woods. I like to take a walk in my meadow. So now when I come up to a group of bushes, I say, Hi, bear. Hi, bear. Hi, bear. If they, excuse me, hear that, they'll shrink back and try to hide from you. If you startle them, they may attack you. So that's a new practice of mine. I love my walks in the meadow. Looking pretty good. That'd be worth me coloring later. I'm going to finish this, then I'm going to go into this, and then we're going to be done. I notice there's another line here. And in reviewing some of my own videos, I noticed that I forget to fill in certain lines. I think that's pretty funny. So I'm going to try not to forget this one. That really makes it pop differently, doesn't it? There we go. Ooh, yes, much better. See, I overlap some of them. I put some behind, some of the circles in front, some of them I slid under, you know. This one I kind of flattened it. I thought, yeah, why not flatten one of them? Always a little different change or twist on something lends interest to the composition. Oop. Size also helps. Just vary the size of the shapes. That also lends interest. I'm going to get down to the last part, which is, that squeaking is my chair. I have the real posh chair I sit on. Now, I originally drew lines like this. I guess they were auras, and I decided to fill them in with little circles. I have a whole bunch of videos I gotta upload. Like I said, I live in the woods, so my baud rate, is what they call it, for uploading is slow. So I can actually make movies faster than I can upload them. What kind of wildlife do you have in your yard? And there's always some kind of wildlife there. Squirrels, chipmunks, skunks, what do you have? They're all cute. If you live in the city, what kind of birds do you have? Are you aware that the falcons have adapted to city life? Because there's lots of other types of wildlife in the city that migrate there that the falcons can eat. And the place to see them, they loved to rest on power lines. So you could just look up and see how many birds you have. Well, I think I'm done. This looks pretty good. I hope you enjoyed this video and my little stories I did behind it. And I'm going to erase this, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So I invite you again to take a screenshot, print it out, and draw it for yourself. But I want you to embellish it your own way. So thanks again for coming to my studio, and I'll talk to you later.